Good morning, morning, Deja. Morning, excuse me. Morning, Nevian. We're going to get started here in a few minutes. Good morning, William. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. Today is Friday, March 5th. There's one more thing I wanted to cover in lesson 3.3, and then we're going to move on to lesson 3.5. So then the QEP essay, that's due on Sunday, March 7th. The homework for 2.5 and 3.1, that's also due on Sunday. Of course, anytime we finish any homework, then it's, automatically due. But this here, if after Sunday, these two are going to be overdue. So you want to get those done for sure. And then quiz 9, that's also due Sunday. Any questions with that? All right, 2 more people. Malik Head and Jay Morgan, or Zay Morgan. Morgan. Oh, okay, that's, it goes by Zay. Good morning, Zay and Malik. Okay, so basically we just went over the announcements, what's due for Sunday. Any questions? Okay, let's go ahead and get started. There's one more thing I wanted to cover with lesson 3.3, and here it is. Find the intercepts and the vertex to this parabola. Okay, so just as a review, let's find the vertex. Well, in order to find the vertex, you have to find the axes of symmetry. So axes of symmetry, I'll just abbreviate that. That's x equal to what? Negative b over 2a, right? Where a is the coefficient of x squared, that's 1. B is the coefficient of x, that's also a positive 1. So this would be negative 1 over 2 times 1, and we get negative 1/2. Okay, so if we were to substitute that back in, so far our vertex is negative 1/2, but we need to find the y component, right, to our vertex. So if we looked on our graph, here's negative 1, negative 1/2 would be right here. So we got to take this point, this x value, substitute it back in. So this would be f at negative 1/2 equals to 1/2 squared plus 1/2 minus 6. So this is 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4 plus 1/2 minus 6. So we need to come up with, normally you're not going to have problems that are this messy with fractions, but I made this problem up, so this one's going to have fractions in it. So we need a common denominator. So we got to multiply 2 over 2 to get a denominator of 4. And so here we need a denominator of 4, so we got to multiply 4 over 4. And we get 1/4 plus 2/4 minus 6 times 4, 24 over 4. So any questions with that so far? All right, so this would be 1 question. So this would be 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 minus 24 is a negative 21 over 4. So the vertex is going to be negative 21 over 4, or negative 5 1/4. So our vertex is a negative 1/2 and negative 5 1/4. So that'll be down about here. If we looked at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our vertex is down here. And since this is positive, it's going to open up, right? So we're going to put arrows, up arrows here. So now we need to find our x and y intercepts. Well, when we were looking at linear equations, for example, basically where the line intercepted the x-axis, y was always 0. Whenever it intercepted the y-axis, x was always 0. Well, the same holds true for parabolas. So to find the y-intercept, so basically what we're doing here, it's like we're using the table of values. Set x equal to 0, find y. Set y equal to 0, find x. So that's what we're going to do first. So first thing we're going to do is set x equals 0, find y. So we put 0 in where x is. And so this will be 0 squared plus 0 minus 6. Plus 0 minus 6. And we get negative 6 out. So our y-intercept is 0, negative 6. So that would be about here. The y-intercept is the easiest to find because all you have to do is just basically cover up the x's and whatever's left over is your y-intercept. Okay, so now we're going to, so that's your y-intercept. So now for the x-intercept, you have to set y equal to 0. So in other words, we're going to put 0 in where f of x is and put x squared plus x minus 6 and factor it. Well, we have to put x and x are signs. Since our c term is a negative, what are the signs going to be? The same or opposite? Anybody have any idea?
The same.
If the c term is a negative, the signs are opposite. If the c term is a plus, the signs are the same. So since the c term is a negative, the signs are going to be opposite. So you could put plus and a minus or minus and a plus. So now you have to look at factors for 6, such as 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. So what two factors of 6 will give you the middle term, which is 1x? Is it going to be 1 and 6 or 2 and 3? Anybody? While you think about that, I'll let Nicole in.
Okay.
Well, if we do 1 and 6, then
2 or 3.
it's 2 and 3, right? Because if you do 1 and 6, you're going to get 5 because you're going to subtract these two. And I'll show you what I mean when we check it. Nicole. Yes. Morning, Nicole. You're Diaz, right? Ubiera? I want to make sure I'm pretty sure I only have one Nicole. Looks like it. Okay. So it'll be 2 and 3, right? Because it's positive, we put the 3 with the x and the 2 with the minus. Well, you want to check it. So you could do a full-blown FOIL, x times x is x squared, but really, and then x times negative 2 is a negative 2x, and 3 times x, that's plus 3x, and then 3 times negative 2, that's a negative 6. But really, you only have to check the two outer and the two inner terms because that's what's going to give you your middle term. Since negative 2x plus 3x equals 1x, then we factored it correctly. if the number was right, but the sign was wrong, then all you'd have to do is just switch the signs. Now at this point, we set each factor equal to 0. X plus 3 equals 0, and x minus 2 equals 0. And so now we have to solve for x here. Apply
Where does this
minus 3.
come
Go ahead.
from?
What
So
do we
where
do?
does the 3 and the 2 come from?
What?
Where does the 3 and the 2 come from?
Well, when you're using the what's called the zero factor property to solve, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to find where is y 0. The curve, the graph is going to intercept, right? It's going to intercept the x-axis. So you want to know where, and it's going to intercept the x-axis where y is 0. So if you put -3 in here, right, it'd be -3 plus 3, that goes to 0, and then -3 and a -2, that'd be -5. So, and since 0 times anything is 0, that would be 0. So you're looking to see where does this end up being 0, and you do that by factoring out your parabola and then setting each factor equal to 0 and solving. So -3 came from setting your factor x plus 3 equal to 0 and solving. So we're going to do the same thing here. X minus 2, set that equal to 0 and solve. And so we're going to apply plus 2, and we get x equals to 2. So that means our x-intercepts are -3, x 0, and 2, 0. So our intercepts are -3, 0, our intercepts are -3, 0, 2, 0, and 0, -6. We found that one earlier. Okay, so we're going to plug those back into our graph. So I'll use a different marker this time. So here's our vertex 0, -1/2, -5 1/2. Here's 0, -6. That's our y-intercept. And then we have -3. So if this is -1, -2, -3, okay, -3, 0, that's an x-intercept. Here's our y-intercept. And 1, 2. Okay, so so our graph is going to look something like this. Okay. All right, questions with that? And so that's the intercepts and the vertex. Okay, so let's take a look at the next lesson, lesson 3.5. Okay, lesson 3.5, inequalities involving quadratic functions. And we're going to solve inequalities involving a quadratic function. So the last lesson we looked at quadratic equations with an equal sign in it. Now we're looking at quadratic equations with an inequality sign, either greater than or less than or greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Okay, to solve for an inequality such as ax squared plus bx plus c is greater than 0, we determine where it's above the x-axis. If x squared is positive, it opens up. If it's x squared is negative, it opens down, and so on. If you're looking at the quadratic equation is greater than 0, you're looking at what part of the graph is going to be above the x-axis. For example, if we're looking at our board or our paper, if we have, here's our coordinate plane, and we want our parabola, we were looking at our parabola ax squared plus bx plus c is greater than 0, for example, then we're looking at everything that's above, that's positive, right, or above the x-axis. So that means anything that goes beyond that, we're looking at these values here, going on to negative infinity, infinity. So we're interested in what these points are here. Point, let's say we'll call them points E and F. Okay. So let's go back to our notes. And so then if it's less than 0, we're looking at below the x-axis, or what points, what x values are below. Okay, so first thing we do, solve the inequality and graph the solution set. So here they looked at, all right, so let's take a look and get a piece of paper. So we're looking at x squared minus 4x minus 12 is less than or equal to 0. Okay, and so here we want to find the y and the x and y intercepts, and then from there we can go ahead and plug it in and find the, and then also we want to find the vertex and find the solution set. So okay, so first thing we want to do is go ahead and find the intercepts, just like what we did. So basically we're doing the very same thing. We're starting off doing the same thing we did in the last unit. So we want to find the solution set. So first thing we do is find the intercepts. So I like to use the table method. Set x equals 0, find y. Set y equal to 0, find x. So set x equals 0. X equals 0, find y. So we're going to put 0 in wherever x is. So this would be 0 squared minus 4, that's a 4, times 0 minus 12. And we're just going to, here, we're just going to use f of x for this one. And so this will be 0. And basically all you have to do is just cover up the x's, right? And whatever's left over, 0 squared, that's 0. 4 times 0, that's 0. So you're just left with negative 12. Negative 12. So our y-intercept is 0, negative 12. Okay, so I always like to graph as I'm working through the problem. And I'm going to do that on a separate piece of paper so that we have enough room. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So here's negative 12. Here's our y-intercept. Okay. So now we're going to find the x-intercepts. And I'll just abbreviate it. So now we're going to set y equal to 0 and solve for x. So that means we're going to put x squared minus 4x minus 12 equals to 0. The 0 is going to go on the other side. So to solve for x, right, you set the equation equal to 0 and factor. Set equal to 0, factor, solve for each factor. Okay, so we need to factor here. You need to either factor or use the quadratic formula if you can't factor. So I always like to put the x's in. This time, okay, the c term is a negative, so are the signs inside the parentheses, are they going to be the same or opposite? Anybody?
Opposite.
Opposite, right. Opposite signs. Okay, so plus or minus, or a minus and a plus, it really doesn't matter. Okay, so now we need to look for factors of 12. Okay, so I'm going to use a different marker so I can squeeze that in. So we want to find factors of 12. So we always use 1 and the number 12, 1 and 12, because that's always factors. 2 and what are factors of 12? Well, 2 times what is 12?
6.
3, 4, 5, 6.
6.
6, good. And then 3. 3 and what? This one I want you to answer because this is probably the part where students have the most trouble with factoring, is finding factors. Well, 3 times what is 12? 4, right? So either 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4 are factors of 12. But only one of these pair of factors will give you the middle, negative 4. So which pair of factors will subtract, because the signs are opposite, to give you negative 4? Is it 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4?
Can you repeat your question?
Which pair of factors? All three of these factors will give you 12.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, it's 4. They're going to give you 2 and 6 will give you 4, right? So those are the two factors that you're going to put in here and here. Okay, so, but the larger one's got to be the negative, because when you go to FOIL it, you have to come up with a negative. So if you put 6 in here for negative and 2 for the positive, and check the two outer terms, x times negative 6 is a negative 6x, and 2 times x, that's plus 2x, you get negative 4x, and it checks, negative 4x. So you always want to check your factoring, because if your factoring's wrong, then what happens to your solution? Your solution's wrong too, right? So this would be x plus 2 equals 0, and x minus 6 equals 0. So now it's, normally when you're just factoring this, you're done here. But when you're solving, you have to keep going. So we have to solve, so that'd be x equal negative 2, and add 6. We get x equal to 6. So our x-intercepts are negative 2 and 6. Okay, so we found our y-intercept was negative 12, 0, negative 12. And so our x-intercepts are going to be negative 2. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, questions there. So since our parabola is a positive, right, it's going to open up. So we're looking at something like this, right? Okay, now in this PowerPoint slide, they went ahead, they didn't ask for this, but they went ahead and found the vertex and the axis of symmetry. Now, if we get cut off, use the second Zoom link to come back on. All right. Okay, so here's our equation, and we want to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex. So I'm just going to rewrite that down here. X squared minus 4x minus 12 less than or equal to 0. Okay, so we want to find the axes of symmetry. We'll just abbreviate AOS for axis of symmetry. X equal negative b over 2a, right? Where b is a negative 4, so that'll be minus a negative 4, and over 2 times a, which is 1. So minus a negative 4 is a positive, right? And 2 can go into 4, and that's 2 times. So that'll be 2 over 1 is 2. So the axis of symmetry is here at 2, at x equal to 2. So our vertex, we have the x coordinate, but we don't know what the y coordinate is. That's a question mark. So we have, what do we do to find the y coordinate? We plug it back in, right? So this will be 2 squared minus 4 times 2 minus 12. And so that'll be 2 squared is 4. 2 times 4 is the negative 8 minus 12. And so 4 minus 8, that's negative 4. Negative 4 and 12 is a negative, what? 16. So our vertex is 2, negative 16. Okay, questions? So this is negative 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So our vertex is down here.
Why did you use
What?
why did you use 2 and 6? Why didn't you use 4 and 3?
Oh, you mean in the, oh, okay. So let me graph this, and then I'll go back to your question. So this will be like this, come up like this, right? Come like that, okay? And we want the x values that are greater or no, less than, I'm sorry, less than. So we're looking at all the x values that are less than in our graph, all these. So that means we're looking at these x values here. So therefore our solution is going to be -2 to 6. And that's our answer. Okay? All right, now to get back to your question, why did we use 2 and -6? Because, let me use a different sheet of paper here. Okay? This is x squared minus 4x minus 12. Okay? And these were our factors for 12, right? 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. So if we used, now remember, factoring is the opposite of FOIL, right? So whatever you FOIL, you should get the same thing that you started with. Whatever you factored, you should be able to FOIL it and get what you started with as a check. So if we used, and this is plus and a minus, right? If we use 2 and 6, you got x times x, that's x squared. X times -6, that's a -6x. 2 times x, that's plus 2x. 2 times -6, that's -12. You get the end term, right? And you get the beginning term, but the middle, oh, we did use 2 and 6. You were asking why we didn't use 3 and 4. So this ended up being, so we get x squared minus 4x plus, minus 12, right? Which is what we wanted, right? But let's look at this again. X squared minus 4x minus 12 equals 0. And let's say that this time we use 3 and 4. So we put x minus 4 in here and x plus 3. Okay? So if we checked it, x times x, that's x squared. That's plus 3x, right? 2 outer terms or 2 inner terms minus 4x and -12. We get the end term again, right? Any one of these will give you the beginning and the end term. Our beginning term, that's the same, right? But the middle is not. Here we get x squared plus x minus 12. Well, that does not check because we want -4. So that 3 and 4 are not factors to get you to solve for this, okay? So only one pair of factors will give you the middle, which is 2 and 6. That's why you need to check it, because if you don't check it, then you may have the end term right, but the middle may not be right. Okay? Does that make sense? We good?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Okay. Let's exit and come back and use the second half hour just so that we don't get cut off. This is a good time to do that. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and exit and come back real quick, and I'll see you in a few minutes. Any questions with that?
Did you put another Zoom link on?
Yeah, there's another one on there. Okay. So I'll see you in just a few minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit out and come back. I'm gonna use the second Zoom link. Okay.